There is an ancient story, one whispered through the halls of mystery schools, hidden in the scriptures of forgotten civilizations, and secretly understood by those who have walked this path before. It is the story of your soul. Right now, you may believe you were born on a certain date, to a certain family, with a name you call your own. But what if I told you that this is not the first time you have walked the earth? What if the face you see in the mirror is only the latest in a long line of identities, each one left behind like a discarded mask as you step onto the stage of life again and again? Reincarnation, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, a cosmic dance as old as time itself. But what if everything you've been told about it is incomplete? What if the truth is far more profound and far more personal than you ever imagined? Many believe that reincarnation is simply a mechanical process, a karmic loop that binds souls to this world. But this is only part of the story. The deeper truth reveals a grand design, a blueprint, crafted not by chance but by choice. You did not come into this life randomly. You chose it. Your relationships, your struggles, even the obstacles you face, each was selected by your soul before you were born, part of an intricate web known as a soul contract. But why? Why would you choose pain, hardship, or even suffering? What happens between lives? And how does understanding reincarnation change the way you live right now? In this video, we will uncover the real meaning of reincarnation, explore the hidden nature of soul contracts, and reveal how the cycle of rebirth is not a prison, but a path to awakening. Stay with me, and together, we will lift the veil on one of the greatest mysteries of existence. Reincarnation is not a modern idea, nor is it limited to a single culture or religion. It is a belief so ancient that it predates written history, found in the sacred texts of the East, the mystical teachings of the West, and the secret doctrines of esoteric traditions. The Hindus and Buddhists speak of samsara, the endless wheel of birth, death, and rebirth, where karma, the law of cause and effect, determines one's future incarnations. In these traditions, life is seen as a classroom, and each lifetime is a lesson, bringing the soul closer to liberation or moksha. The ancient Egyptians held a similar view, believing that the soul, or ka, would pass through many trials after death before it could ascend to the divine realm. They even spoke of past life recall, a practice used by high priests to remember previous incarnations. The Greeks, too, had their mysteries. The philosopher Plato wrote of the transmigration of souls, explaining that before birth, each soul chooses its next life based on the lessons it needs to learn. The Orphic mysteries, an ancient spiritual tradition, taught that the soul was trapped in the cycle of reincarnation until it attained true enlightenment. Even in early Christianity, before reincarnation was condemned as heresy, certain sects, like the Gnostic Christians, believed that the soul reincarnated to perfect itself. The great Christian theologian Origen spoke of pre-existence, suggesting that souls live many lives to evolve spiritually. But why was this knowledge hidden? Why, in later centuries, was reincarnation stripped from mainstream religious teachings? Could it be that understanding the soul's eternal nature grants a power that challenges authority? As we explore the true nature of reincarnation, we will uncover the soul contracts that bind us to certain lives, the choices we make before birth, and the hidden reason why we return again and again. Prepare to discover what no one ever told you about the blueprint of your soul's journey. Death is not the end. It is merely a doorway, one that each of us has passed through countless times before. But what happens after we take our last breath? Where do we go between lives? And how does the journey of the soul determine our next incarnation? Many ancient traditions speak of a realm between worlds, a place where the soul rests, reflects, and prepares for its next journey. The Tibetan Book of the Dead describes the Bardo, a mystical plane where the recently departed encounter visions, some terrifying, some divine, based on their own consciousness. The Egyptians called it the duat, a dimension where souls face trials and must prove their worth before moving forward. But modern spiritual accounts also point to a fascinating process. Countless near-death experiences describe a tunnel of light, a feeling of profound peace, and even encounters with higher beings or guides. Many who have undergone past life regression, through hypnosis or deep meditation, recount eerily similar experiences of a council of elders, wise beings who help them review their past life and decide what lessons must be learned in the next. This is where soul contracts are made. Unlike the idea of fate, which suggests we are helpless in the face of destiny, soul contracts reveal something astonishing. We choose our lives before we are born. Before reincarnating, each soul enters a sacred space where it chooses the conditions of its next life. The family, the relationships, even the struggles and hardships, nothing is accidental. If a person experiences great suffering, it may be because their soul has chosen to learn resilience, compassion, or forgiveness. If someone is born into wealth and power, their test may not be material but spiritual. Will they use their privilege for self-service or the service of others? Even the people we meet in this life are rarely strangers. Many are soul companions, beings we have traveled with through lifetimes, playing different roles each time. Your best friend today may have been your sibling in another life. Your greatest rival may have once been your greatest ally. But if we choose our lives, does this mean suffering is always necessary? Or is there a way to break the cycle and step into true freedom? In the next chapter, we will explore the hidden mechanics of karma, the illusion of punishment, and how understanding reincarnation can help you shape your own destiny, starting now. For centuries, the idea of karma has been misunderstood. Many believe it to be a system of divine punishment, an invisible force that ensures those who do wrong will suffer in the next life. But this is not how karma truly works. Karma is not about retribution. It is about balance. It is a force of spiritual cause and effect, a mechanism that allows the soul to experience the consequences of its actions, not as punishment, but as learning. If a soul acts with greed, cruelty, or selfishness, it does not return to suffer as a form of vengeance from the universe. Instead, it is given the opportunity to understand the impact of those actions, sometimes by living on the receiving end of the same experiences. Imagine a soul who, in one life, was a powerful ruler who misused their authority. They may choose to return as someone powerless, not as a punishment, but to understand humility and compassion. Likewise, a person who suffered greatly in one life may return in a position of influence, where they now have the chance to help others. But here's the greatest secret about karma. It is not a prison, it is a teacher. Once a lesson is truly learned, the soul no longer needs to repeat it. Many people feel trapped in cycles of suffering, believing that they are doomed by karma. But in truth, suffering only continues when we fail to recognize the lesson. So, how do we break free? The answer lies in awareness and conscious action. Every choice we make shapes the energy of our next experience. Every act of kindness, every moment of love, every decision made with wisdom dissolves negative karmic patterns and allows the soul to evolve. This is why spiritual masters, saints, and enlightened beings speak of transcending karma, not by avoiding life's challenges, but by mastering them with awareness. And yet, if karma is simply a tool for learning, why do some people seem to be caught in endless cycles of pain, making the same mistakes over and over? The reason lies in something even deeper than karma itself, the attachments and illusions that keep us bound to the material world. In the next chapter, we will uncover the hidden traps of reincarnation, the forces that keep the soul cycling through lifetimes, and the secret to breaking free from the wheel of rebirth once and for all. If reincarnation is a school for the soul, then why do so many spirits remain trapped in an endless cycle of birth, suffering, and death? The answer lies in attachment to desires, to identities, to unresolved emotions, and to the illusions of the material world. Many spiritual traditions describe the cycle of rebirth as a wheel that turns endlessly. In Hinduism and Buddhism, this is known as samsara, the ever-repeating journey of the soul through different lifetimes, each one shaped by past actions, emotions, and unresolved karma. But here's the most important truth. This cycle is not eternal. It can be broken. What keeps a soul bound to reincarnation? Unfinished lessons. If a soul refuses to learn from its experiences, it will return to face them again. Fear, resentment, or avoidance of challenges only ensures their reappearance in different forms. Emotional attachments. Souls deeply attached to people, places, or material desires often find themselves pulled back into another life to resolve unfinished emotions. False identity. If a soul clings to the illusion of individuality, believing it is only this body, this name, this lifetime, it remains trapped in separation, unable to merge with the greater whole. So how does one break free? The answer lies in awakening, not in the physical sense, but in the spiritual sense. Masters, sages, and enlightened beings across history have shown us the way. Detachment. Without apathy. Freedom does not mean rejecting life, but rather engaging with it fully, without being ruled by cravings or fears. Self-realization. To understand that you're not just this body, not just this mind, but something far greater, an eternal, limitless consciousness. Forgiveness and letting go. Holding on to past wounds binds a soul to those wounds. True liberation comes when we release resentment and embrace peace. Enlightened beings, such as the Buddha, Lao Tzu, and countless mystics, have shown us that when a soul reaches a state of full awareness, it no longer needs to return. At this point, the cycle of reincarnation dissolves, and the soul moves beyond it, merging with higher dimensions of existence. But what happens then? Do we disappear into the void? Or do we evolve into something even greater? In the final chapter, we will explore what lies beyond reincarnation, the mystery of ascension, the higher planes of existence, and what happens to a soul that has finally reached its ultimate destiny. If reincarnation is a school, then what happens when the lessons are complete? What awaits a soul that has transcended the cycle of birth and death? The answer to this question has been shrouded in mystery for millennia, yet across spiritual traditions, whispers of a higher existence emerge. A state beyond reincarnation, beyond karma, beyond even the illusion of separation itself. In Hindu and Buddhist teachings, this final liberation is known as moksha or nirvana, a state where the soul, no longer bound by earthly desires, merges with the infinite. It is not annihilation as some fear, but an awakening into pure consciousness, free from suffering, free from identity, free from the limitations of time and space. In the mystical traditions of the West, the Gnostics, Hermeticists, and Kabbalists speak of ascension, the soul's return to its divine origin. Some believe that once a being reaches this level, it is no longer required to reincarnate, but may choose to return as a guide, a teacher, or a spiritual master to help others awaken. This may explain the presence of enlightened beings throughout history, mystics, sages, and prophets, who seem to possess wisdom far beyond their time. Could they be souls who have already transcended reincarnation, returning by choice rather than necessity? But the most profound truth is this: you are already infinite. The cycle of reincarnation is not something imposed upon you. It is a journey you chose, a path you created for your own awakening. The question is no longer, how do I escape? But, how do I remember who I truly am? The great mystics have said that when a soul reaches its final stage, it becomes one with the source. Some call it God, the divine, the absolute, but it is not a distant being or a separate force. It is you, beyond the illusions of form and identity. And so, the journey comes full circle, not as a return to where you began, but as a return with awareness, with understanding, with freedom. So ask yourself, who were you before this life? Why did you choose to come here? And what will you do now that you remember? The answers have always been within you. Reincarnation is not a trap. It is a path of growth, of understanding, of evolution. Each lifetime is a new page in the great book of your soul's journey. Each experience a lesson leading you towards something greater. Now, armed with this knowledge, you have a choice. Will you continue to move blindly through the cycle, repeating old patterns, bound by karma and attachment? Or will you step into awareness, break free from illusion, and begin to live with the wisdom of one who remembers? The key has always been in your hands. The time to awaken is now. Your journey does not end here. It begins.